So there was a little more Nancy wanted to unpack after the previous video. So she's got a little more to say, and then we'll just chat about it briefly. Try not to take up too much time. So go for it, Nancy.
Yeah. I think one of specifically when Sierra and I were chatting yesterday, she just brought up this thing, and I just really kind of want to read it because I thought I really want us to touch this point. Is that Sierra just wrote, she said, I want people to understand that I'm acquainted with the particular grief of not being a part of IHOP anymore. So I think everybody's like, we don't want this to shut down. Why does it seem that there are these mean people that are trying to shut it down? And it's like, of all the people on the planet, we're not trying to be mean, not trying to shut it down. We're just trying to keep it safe. And part of that is because we have already grieved this. I mean, I keep telling people, oh, this happened to us 4 years ago. And then literally I looked at Jim today and I said, well, this is 2024. I was like, this kind of, I mean, even though we were still prayer leading, we did not have a position. And just to note, we did not have a position because people were being told that we were troublemakers and, you know, everything else. The same thing they did to Sierra. Don't let Sierra sub, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, these are your brothers and sisters in Christ that are calling you troublemakers. And it's like, are you kidding me? Because why? What evidence do you have that we're troublemakers? And but anyway, so just I wanted Sierra just to unpack her heart because sometimes I think we all get kind of put in this category of, oh, you're a whistleblower, you're this, you're that. And it's like, what are we blowing the whistle on? We've been it's coming, like I said, it's coming on 5 years for us. And it's the reality of at the 4 year mark, I feel like we were actually starting to have eyes to see what we had really been walking in and through. So Sierra's been out even longer than that. So it's like, even at a 5 year or more mark, there still is grief. So just talk a little bit about that, Sierra, because I think sometimes people just think, oh, y'all are harsh. And it's like, we're not harsh. We just don't want any other human to have to walk through what we've walked through.
Yeah. It's been about 10 years of like pushing back for me because in around 2014, I started to, and I've talked about it on my TikTok. There was a friend who came to me because she felt how she was being treated was that people were being told not to talk to her because she had been asking questions
Right.
and had been seen with the Joy Boys and stuff like that. And so I was like, I haven't been through anything like that, but I can listen to you and I can believe you.
Right. Right.
And I did. And I started to see things that were happening right in front of me that I
Right.
just didn't realize the dynamic that was occurring and how it was making my friend feel and what the
Right.
experience was like for my friend. And so there were situations where I advocated for people in media. There were situations where I advocated for people just with how people were being treated in certain situations with policies being selectively enforced or this or that, um, where it was loyal dissent. I had come to give my life to the place. I had come to put my roots down and be a part of this people and grow together and get in conflict. Like I'm fully like I literally when I was in the evangelism intensive, we each had to preach and I preached on iron sharpening iron and the friction that occurs and like so I'm like in it to like get in and you and we've gotten
Yeah.
into it before and just like it's the working through with one another is like what builds trust. It's
Yeah.
having healthy conflict where you come out the other side understanding one another better and stuff. And so I was
Yeah.
just trying to like bring stuff up to my leaders as loyal dissent, as constructive criticism, and even just as a plea for like, hey, like I want to do this sustainably, and what you're asking of me with this new thing is I can tell already it's not going to be sustainable. And I think Juliana Thompson had a recent video that kind of talked about similar, where
Yeah.
it's just the sustainability and how people come through and they get burned out, and then they're blamed for the burnout when it's like they're
Right.
you try to speak up for like, hey, like I'm really noticing like this is not something I'm going to be able to do long term when you're
And
asking
then
XYZ
shame.
of me and then putting the cherry on top.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, it was this drawn out grief process of feeling like my job was under threat when the direction would do a sharp pivot every 3 or 4 months. There's a new crisis or this or that, and they're totally changing the structure of and sometimes it was a 180 of what it had been before, but then I'm talking to others and they're not being asked to jump through the same hoops I am. And so it started to feel personal, like maybe there was some selective enforcement, which I think we've seen you've seen in the Roy's report the opposite direction of personal and selectively enforced things like stipends being doubled after someone was accused of.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it's like there is that clear selective enforcement or selective favor dynamic that occurs there that creates a
That
really
now makes sense.
inequitable and
Sadly.
unsustainable environment that's just really psychologically unhealthy for people to
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah.
Um, but it was a fight for me where every time I was coming, I was like, I'm doing this because I want to be here. I was working a part-time job to afford to be there because like I wasn't having success in partnership development because I had asked everyone in my life to look into IHOP right before someone high profile passed away in October of 2012. And
Yeah.
that burned a lot of bridges in my life. And it made it a struggle for me, but I felt called. I loved my job. I loved what I got to do. I loved the people I got to do it with, like from my heart and soul. And with my strength, I was willing to work 20 hours a week on the side to have insurance when they didn't provide it and I needed it for
Right.
some health stuff. It was my joy because Jesus was worthy. And these things I was doing to try and build and strengthen this place I was at that I loved because I saw the road certain things were on. And I was like, a lack of policy here is a liability. This will get an organization shut down. You harm enough people. We talk about bowls filling up. You're filling up a bowl of wrath,
Yeah.
like, because you're leaving a trail of bodies that you're not making amends with and you're not reconciling with, you're not making things right with,
Yeah.
and you're not owning the part you played in their pain.
Yeah.
That will come back upon your head many times over if you don't have things in place to address it and to make it right. When it's small, it will grow. And
And we watched it.
it was viewed as hostility. I was labeled an enemy. I was told I was stirring up trouble, and I was pulled into meetings with leaders where my heart was questioned and my pay was threatened, my job security was threatened, and it was a grieving process to realize I was losing this thing I'd given up my alternative paths in life to come and do. And
Yeah.
it was being ripped out of my hands, and it was not easy for me to let go. I held on for 2 years of that. And then even after I tried to come and sub, I tried to come and play nice. I would come and visit the prayer room, come and say hi to people. But when I wasn't staff anymore, I wasn't welcome. And I've got stories on my TikTok about a section leader slamming my car door shut, which I think that person's off staff now. But yeah, it's
And how hard would it have been to have said, "I'm so sorry I ever did that to you."
yeah. No, they just stopped talking to me after that. And it's people I loved that viewed me as an enemy and closed off to me, and it was heartbreaking because it was like I still wanted to come and be a part of this community that I came to be a part of, even in just
Right.
the volunteer capacity. I have a Baylor shirt I bought because I was coming and subbing regularly on the set that does prayers for college campus. By the time it arrived in the mail, I didn't get to wear it on the set because I'd been removed from subbing further and I wasn't allowed to even sub anymore, which was heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking. So yeah, that's just some of where some of us on the other side are coming from. And I hope, if there's others out there who want to share like the love you had for the place. Not this isn't like to the, be like overly positive or anything, but just to I think there's a misunderstanding about where a lot of us are coming from.
Yeah.
But we're almost at the 10-minute mark. That's gonna hit the TikTok limit. So
Yeet.
anything in the last 30 seconds you want to say, Nancy?
No, no, no. I just want to say that we are not trying to burn some house down. We are just saying we don't want anybody else hurt.
Yeah, yeah. That's about
And
it.
there are I could name a list of people that could fill leadership positions that would be safe. That are part of the house prayer. So,
All right.
but I don't think anybody that's in there right now is safe. Sorry.
All righty. I'm gonna hit end now. Thanks for your time, Nancy.
Love you.
You too.